Hello there.
Today we have an exciting video with Indra. He's back again with the wonderful 300-gallon vivarium. This is going to be an in-depth tour of
my 3 foot by 2 foot by 4 foot aquarium, so about 180 gallons. This one I built for another space in my old house, but then, you know, that was before, and then we decided, oh, we're gonna buy a new house, and then now we moved here, and this is kind of like the permanent residence of this terrarium.
But before we get into that, I have to show you guys the decor around this terrarium because it's almost as nice as the terrarium itself. Starting with this beautiful trickling waterfall style vivarium built with entirely native plants from Borneo. Essentially, this terrarium is a Borneo biotope waterfall terrarium. What a mouthful that is.
So this is a painting that was done by an artist in Ecuador. His name is Daniel Reynoso. He sent some pictures that you took from the trip. He make a painting out of it for you. I got engaged in that trip. Figured we'd, have something special to commemorate by, and this painting was kind of it.
But enough of the surrounding area, let's talk about the tank.
The back and the bottom is made of a composite aluminum, so it's really, really light, but it's rigid. I wanted something visible from 3 different sides, so I asked him if he could just build, the bottom and the back, and then he did that, and I put it all together, and then this is kind of what it is now.
Now this video was actually filmed about a year ago, and this is the tank today. I'll leave the entire video that Indra just dropped on his channel in the links down below, but he's housing Atelopus elegans as well as Ranitomea imitators.
The location of this terrarium is kind of in an area of the house that is a little warmer. So it's cold right now, but it's next to a big window. So because of that, a lot of the plant choices kind of reflect the warmer environment. So you have a lot of intermediate growers, a lot of intermediate to warm, and a lot of warm growers. You can see here there's lots of plants that are doing super, super well right now. They're really enjoying the environment that they're in. Originally, I wanted to remind me of kind of like a stream next to like a tall, like a wall of rock or whatever with like plants and crap growing on. But then a friend of mine had these like black Dicranopygium from Gunayala in Panama. I got a couple of them originally, and then I was like, oh man, you gotta send me like 3 more after I saw the pictures of like there's all these like black Dicranopygium just growing in like clumps next to a stream. So it's kind of just like taking inspiration from a few different parts of South America. So the lighting for this one is 2 aqua illumination, prime fresh waters. I have them running for on a 12-hour cycle or so. It also does get a large amount of ambient lighting. I have to plan around that depending on the season. Because we live in the northern hemisphere, and then in the winter the sun is lower in the sky, so you actually get way more light inside the terrarium than you do in the summer right now. So different parts of the terrarium get illuminated like differently depending on the time of the year, which I think is really interesting. There's like Panthes calydiction, Tentaculata, really classic plants that kind of like intermediate to warm growing. There's also this Telepagoniflora that's doing really, really well. That one's blooming pretty frequently. Lots of additive in that plant. This is one other plant called the Panthes lucifer that I really, really wanted. The first time I tried ordering it, it arrived just like completely dead. It was totally dried out, like no chance of coming back. You can see it here. They sent me another one, the same thing happened. It's just like totally dead here. 3rd time's the charm, maybe. We'll see. This is like this clone of Leifoglossum pultatum. And this is growing everywhere along this branch. I started off with like a few smaller plants. So I planted one here, I planted one here, and here. And there's one more down here of this like kind of fine frond form of this plant, and it's just starting to take off here. So over time, it's just going to be all over the place.
That looks awesome.
Yeah, and then I threw some more down here. I just had like tons and tons growing of it. I really wanted a terrarium like for the longest time that was just like I was just obsessed with the idea of having like a stream in my home, like a running water feature full of just like plants that were I guess typical of like this kind of environment where you'd be like next to a stream or whatever. So I was in my mind, I was like, okay, lots of like cyclants, lots of like philodendron and hanani or whatever for catum. You saw it downstairs, but this is like, egg in the wild. When I see it in the wild, I see it growing like next to streams and stuff like that. So stuff that, like those kinds of plants. I have this like Tillandsia biflora, which is one of my favorite bromeliads, and then this is Anthurium erisamoides. This one arrived pretty crappy, but it is starting to grow a new leaf here. All the orchids are doing really well. I did put one Lepanthes Felis down here just to see what it would do. I don't expect it to like bloom or anything. I probably will end up moving it eventually. Because it's just like too warm in here for it, but...
I was gonna say, it's not like a cool grower?
Yeah, it's like a made cool grower. I don't expect it to do anything. I probably will have to move it eventually. So there's Anthurium misturatum here. This one was like, I put it in the back and I was like, oh, I'll be able to enjoy this this area for a while. And now it's just like, it's put up this giant new leaf.
One
and
new
it's like
leaf.
completely blocked off like this entire area here. That had like a bunch of different Lepanthes. So this is there's like Tentacula or Caudictian or something. There's Saltatrix, I think, here. And then Terrarium. This leaf's just like kind of blocked out the light for it. So there's like tons of different ferns in this one as well. Probably spent like 35–40% of my budget just like on random inconspicuous green crap. I think one thing I did with this one is this terrarium in general is that there's still a lot of different species of plants, like way more than you find in like this size environment or whatever in the wild, obviously. But I tried to use a lot of the same plants over and over again to kind of ground it in realism. So you'll see a lot of stuff here that's kind of like, you see it here, but you also see it here and here and here. Mm-hmm. And then there's like a few plants that kind of stand out as being like, this is the only one in this terrarium. Like I think it looks more realistic to have like a bunch of different plants that are the same species and just growing them in different areas of the tank. I used a lot of the Lepanthes that kind of look similar to one another. And in the wild, I think these ones do, like some of these ones do grow near each other. Like I think Tentacula and Caudictian or something like that grow next to each other in the wild, but they don't hybridize for whatever reason.
Oh, interesting.
I use a lot of Stachyropidium as well. Here's another like repeat plant that I used a bunch of in this terrarium, so Laphalosum lanceolatum. So this is like the adult foliage here. It gets super, super long. And then I have a couple other ones that are kind of like smaller here, but it's all the same plant. Actually, this one might not be, but this one is. This one's the same plant as far as I know. This tank does have a fogger. I use that to, again, increase the humidity without saturating the plants. This terrarium also has fans on the top that run very infrequently just to add more movement to the enclosure. These plants don't typically enjoy their leaves sitting wet for long periods of time, so the fan helps out with that a lot. Long term, this is going to be for glass frogs and Atelopus. I really liked the Atelopus when I saw them at Wikiri. I knew I really wanted Atelopus elegans. I really wanted them for the longest time, but then when I went there and saw their facility, and I saw the enclosures they kept them in, I was like, oh man, I really need to have them. So next time, the opportunity arises with Understory Enterprises, we will probably be getting a few of them here.
And that about wraps it up with the 180-gallon vertical terrarium made by Indra. But that is not the last video with Indra. Maybe I won't wait an entire year before posting the next part. There is still a quick tour of his frog room remaining on the editing room floor. So if you guys are interested in that, let me know in the comments down below. As well as if you are watching this video when it comes out, I'll be doing a live stream building an entire tank with you all on twitch.tv/AfroReptile, so make sure you go check it out. I'll leave the links in the description. It'll be starting around noon Eastern Standard Time on both Saturday and Sunday, April 15th and 16th. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you subscribe to both me and Indra, and we'll catch you in the next one. Later.